Hello and welcome. As you have seen the title, I'll be making kind of a tutorial on how to beat the spell brigade on hardcore mode. Usually I don't talk through my videos, I'm kinda new to this YouTube thing and English is also not my main language. So I wanted to ask you to please give me feedback if you want more content like this, where I talk about my gameplay, if you want English subtitles, or if you just want the gameplay without me talking. I actually have a complete playlist where I beat hardcore mode without dying with all the wizards on all of the maps. So definitely go check that out if you want to see how I play each character. I'll leave the link here in the description. Also, if you enjoy my content, please subscribe and drop a like. This actually helps me a lot, and if you want to play together, just say so. So that's enough talking, let's go to the guide. First of all, you need to pick a wizard. I really recommend picking the solo wizard as your first character, because as you can see, it is a great wizard to help you out at the early stages of the game. You can see how fast I level up by killing the initial enemies and grab another skill to help me deal more damage. In this video I was actually focusing on the new skill, the Scepter one. I think this is the best skill out of the 3 ones that were added to the game on the last update. But yeah, okay, so now that you have your second skill, you need to decide which skill is going to do the most damage for you, because there are objectives you can make to improve your skill, and some skills will only deal a lot of damage if they are augmented by doing the objectives. For example, the Solar Pulse skill doesn't need objectives to deal more damage, because the augments for this skill are not focused on damage. But for the Scepter skill that I took, I need to augment it, because if I don't, the skill by itself is not going to do a lot of damage, and I will have problem at the late stage of the game. So try to focus on one skill and augment that skill as much as you can. You see that on this game I focus my upgrades on the Scepter skill. Another skill that is really great with augments is the Magic Missile. If you don't grab any augment, the spell will not carry you on hardcore mode because of the low damage. But if you can get some augments, it gets really good. I actually slayed the boss in less than 50 seconds with this skill on the last map, which is the Firestorm Pit on hardcore mode. The Star Falling skill is also good, but if you don't pick the explosion augment, for example, it will not do as much damage as Uniburst or Solar Pulse with infusions. For my second tip, I am going to say grab movement speed whenever you can. Move speed is actually one of the best skills of the game, because if you don't have enough damage to kill the enemies fast, they will surround and slay you. So I always grab movement speed, even if I have to give up some epic upgrade for my skills. So try to focus on movement speed. If you are playing on the first map, you see there are some rock paths on the map. If you walk on those rocks, you will walk faster. So you can avoid picking some movement speed if you stick to the rocks, but I really recommend you to pick movement speed. Also, there is a relic that upgrades your damage based on your armor. So you get 1% increased damage for each armor, but your speed will actually be decreased for each amount of armor as well. This will help you deal a lot of damage, but you will get a lot slower. And if you can get at least 30% additional movement speed, you're definitely good to go. I'll be talking about relics in this video as well. This is just an observation. And some of you might be asking yourselves, what about the dodge skill? I don't grab and dodge, because I tend to focus more on avoid enemies with my move speed. Also, the dodge skill has a limit to 80% if I'm not mistaken. It's great actually, but still, to get a good amount of dodge, you will probably have to skip a lot of good upgrades, and also you will be depending on the RNG of actually dodging the read. While with movement speed, you will depend much more actually on your skills playing the game and avoiding enemies. Okay, so now let's talk about relics. Each relic can give you a really good upgrade, and the first one spawns with the second objective. The second relic spawns with the fourth objective, and the third relic spawns with the boss. When you are playing alone, there are two main relics that I really like and one relic that might be helpful as well. You can see all of them on the screen, and the first one is the healthy growth. This skill heals you 100 HP every time you level up, so I think it's great to grab it as the first one because it can give you much more sustain throughout the game. The second relic is the offensive defense. This one is actually the best relic in my opinion to pick at the moment. On the last update it actually got nerfed, so now you get more damage but you will lose movement speed, but it is still a great relic. Before the update you would only get the increased damage, not the decreased movement speed, but yeah, it's still great and I really love that relic. The last relic that I recommend is Joint Protection, but I would only pick it for defensive status to avoid potential big hits on the last stage of the game. Because if you grab this relic as the first one, you probably will be at level 15, 20 maybe, so it isn't that great. What you can do is try to avoid the scroll, to pick the scroll relic, until you are level 30 plus, so you can get more armor. So it really depends on you. I always grab one of these, and the other ones I actually don't think it is worth it. So those three main relics are the best options for you to beat hardcore mode without dying. And yes, some of you might be asking yourselves, can I have multiple relic scrolls on the ground at the same time? Yes, you can. I actually did this on my no death runs, linked in the description. Now that I talked about selecting skills that help you at the early stage of the game, I explained about augments, move speed and relics, I want to give you some more tips about what to do to beat the game on hardcore mode. Understand what each skill do and always grab one skill that will help you through the early game. For example, if you start with the Star Wizard that was released on the last update, it will be a real struggle on the early levels. Usually you can start the first objective at level 8, but with the Star Wizard, if you start this objective at level 5, you are doing great actually, because this skill has really low damage at the early stages of the game, and you can't actually focus on one enemy at a time or on multiple enemies at once, like an AoE spell kind of. So definitely pick a skill to help you early. You don't need to upgrade that skill, just grab it to help you until level 15 or so. For the next tip, avoid being too close to the walls of the map, because if you don't have too much damage, you will be surrounded. Try to keep the enemies at the middle of the map and start kind of circulating them and spreading the damage. I say this because if you can get a lot of those explosion enemies, you won't actually need to deal a lot of damage. You can try to make them explode and kill the special enemies for you. This way you can get a lot of experience while not having too much damage. Also, before getting into maps, try to upgrade your main damage skill as fast as you can, so you can slay more enemies and get more experience. Right now there are actually 3 maps in the game: Verdant Meadows, Frozen Ancients and Pyre Storm Pit. Each map gets harder, the enemies will have more damage and life, so what I do recommend you is to use the map to your favor. For Verdant Meadows, Actually, just try to stick to the rock paths. You will walk faster and you can use the middle of the map to control the enemy's location. This is the easiest map, so just focus on the rock path, stay on the middle of the map, and you are good to go. For frozen ancients, basically avoid at all costs the ice floor. Enemies are not affected by it, but you are. To get through the early stage of the game, I recommend going to the upper right part of the map. There are some, I would say, volcanic floor, I guess, that deals actually a great amount of damage to enemies on the early stage. So basically, if you have a skill that is hard to use at the beginning of the game, just let the map kill the enemies for you. Usually what I do on this map is I try to run the enemies to the bushes as well, because they get pretty slow, and you do too, but they are more affected than you are. So try to bring them to those bushes and do as much damage as possible. Also, it is a great way to escape a lot of enemies. So just focus on using the explosion floor and bring the enemies to bushes. Now for Pyra Storm Pit. This is actually the hardest map, because you will take damage from the lava floor and the tornadoes on the map. Do the same as Frozen Ancient, and for the early levels, just let the lava floor kill the enemies for you. I would say that you need a lot of movement speed on this map particularly, because when you try to avoid enemies, sometimes, almost always actually, you will need to run through the lava floor or to escape the tornado. So focus more on movement speed to avoid taking a lot of damage from the lava floor and the tornado. The tornado deals 100 damage and the lava floor 25, but you can actually dodge them based on your dodge skill percentage. Well, that's actually it, people. If you enjoyed the content, please subscribe, like the video, and drop a comment down below. I'll keep bringing new content like this and new games as well. If you have any suggestions, feedback or critics, just say so that I will try to improve the content for you. Also, I always answer the comment section, and if you want to play together, just add me on Steam. I will leave my Steam ID on the description. Thank you so much and see ya.